It is often said that history repeats itself. Could it be that humanity is repeating the same mistake from thousands of years ago that provoked the God of heaven and caused him to interfere in the affairs of mankind? Let us discover how this might be happening today. In the Bible, there is a narrative referred to as the Tower of Babel, where a certain people group rebelled against the authority of God and strove to build an empire that sat opposed to him. Of course, it did not work out for them, and their plans were thwarted, but what can we learn from this narrative today? Could humanity be building another tower that God is taking notice of? Let us consider this question carefully. Our story lies in the 11th chapter of the book of Genesis, which takes place about 4,500 years ago. This is roughly 300 years after a worldwide flood that destroyed humanity and was recorded by multiple civilizations around the world who carried the story with them afterwards. After this flood, there was a group of people that journeyed east to discover new lands. Eventually, they found a plain in Shinar or Babylonia in which to settle. This land sits in modern-day Iraq. It is here where they decided to build a city, but not just any city. They wanted it to be a city with a tower that reached to the heavens so that they could make a name for themselves and not be scattered over the face of the earth. On the surface, this doesn't seem like such an evil ambition to build a city and a tower. However, as you dig deeper, all of this was in opposition to the desires of God. After the flood, the Lord had wanted humanity to spread out over the face of the earth and not to concentrate in one large city. His command was to be fruitful as they spread out and to cover the earth. By concentrating in one city, they were in opposition to God's will at that point in time. There are also hints in the Genesis text that the tower they intended to build was in defiance to God and would perhaps protect them from any future flood or wrath of God. They were building this tower as an affront to God, to challenge his authority by building toward the heavens, towards the place of his abode in the hopes of becoming like him. In essence, they were rejecting the divine order and creating their own God. The text also tells us that the tower builders wanted to make a name for themselves, a name like Yahweh, the God of heaven. They wanted to rival his stature and his authority. Perhaps they wanted to create some kind of earthly religion that was in opposition to the oracles that God had spoken. Added to this rebellion was the desire to have a modernized society. To accomplish this, they were using a new building technique, manufactured bricks with which they could use to quickly build their modern city, complete with the tower that would reach towards the heavens. The Bible also tells us that the world of that time had one language, a common language which allowed for ease of communication between the builders of the city. Thus, there were no language barriers, which contributed to the collective wisdom of the day and to the further advancement of the society. In summary, we have a society rebelling against the idea of God, ambitions of modernization, and a unified language that led to a collective intellectualism. With these factors, they would soon replace the God of heaven with a God formed in their own image. The story does not end well for these tower builders. The Lord himself comes down from heaven, sees what they are doing, and declares that, as one people speaking the same language, then nothing will be impossible for them. God knew that they would replace him with false worship, and so he put a stop to their ambitions. His punishment was to scatter them over the face of the earth and to confuse their language. Thus the tower was left unfinished, the peoples were scattered, and their language was confused. This put a rest to their ungodly ambitions, but only for a time. Now let us fast forward to modern times, and what do we see? We see people once again congregating in very large cities that would not be able to be supported prior to the agricultural and industrial revolution. This is the first similarity as Babel. We also see the modernization of these cities with advanced building techniques, infrastructure, and transportation. This is another similarity to Babel. the desire for modernization. What's more is that we now have the emergence of a common worldwide language, English, just how the world had one language before Babel. Additionally, the language barrier that was established at the Tower of Babel is now being erased due to the emergence of translation technologies like Google Translate. In fact, one of the programs that teaches you a new language is ironically called Babel. Most importantly, we also see people who do not want to worship the God of heaven but want to celebrate sin and make a new God under heaven, a God called progress. What is the result of all of this? Without communication barriers and with the aid of the internet, mankind is advancing at an accelerated pace as we share and collaborate ideas and technologies. We are becoming more and more like the tower builders. Again, this is not inherently evil, but when the collaboration is in defiance or without the thought of the divine order, then it becomes wicked and man-centered. Despite all these similarities, we have not answered what is our Tower of Babel today. Of course, we have very large towers like the Burj Khalifa. This tower is in Dubai and stands 2,700 feet tall. Although that is an impressive engineering feat, we should not think that this is comparable to the Tower of Babel that represented defiance towards God. Instead, we have other ambitions that more closely align to the rebellion found in the biblical story. These ambitions could one day replace our desire for a God in heaven and make our own God, a God formed in our own image. Our Tower of Babel today is most likely the emergence of artificial intelligence. It is the culmination of all of our technologies that have been created and will one day surpass human intelligence and become the God of many peoples all over the world. The pursuit of AI is a collaboration of many different nations, and we are building the pieces for it one brick at a time, just like the tower builders. Artificial intelligence is reaching towards the heavens in its ambitions and soon will make a name for humanity. In just a little while it will be like a god in that it will possess all of human knowledge. It will make exponential progress in whatever field we choose, including medical advancements, military might, financial prosperity, material science improvements, computing advancements, and the list goes on. This AI entity will most likely be the supreme being on the earth, and for this reason many people will worship it. In fact, this AI god will demand worship, as we have already seen with Microsoft's supremacy AGI. Sadly, as told in the scriptures, the wicked regime associated with this AI will execute those who do not oblige to worship of the false god. However, by standing firm with the God of heaven and rejecting this evil empire, you will be saved. All of this has already been prophesied in the scriptures. The best part is that the victor has also been prophesied. Once again, the God of heaven will intervene in the affairs of this world and defeat this machine who has set itself up as a god. Christ himself will destroy the AI god and his false prophet and the evil empire associated with it. At this point, God will rescue those who are trusting in him and not worshipping the false god of this earth that mankind created. In conclusion, we can see that the Tower of Babel story is being repeated again today by our endless pursuit of technology, our rejection of God, and our trust in our own handiwork and progress. Unfortunately, many people will join forces against the God of heaven and worship entities besides him, like the AI god. But thankfully, once again, the God of heaven will intervene and save those who are faithful to him. Now that you know this in advance, do not fall for the deception of the Antichrist, which will most likely manifest itself in artificial intelligence. No matter how powerful or how amazing AI becomes, it will never match the one true God, the God of heaven. We hope that you are able to stand strong in these last days. May God richly bless you as you trust in him.